All right. Good morning. This is Denis Horrigan from Connecticut Wealth Management. I have with me my partner, Kevin Leahy, who is president and CEO of Connecticut Wealth Management. And we have a special guest today, Ellen Palmer. She might be familiar to a lot of you, but just to refresh people's memories, Ellen is a certified holistic and life coach, and she has her own business, Ellen Palmer Wellness. I'll let her describe a little bit about what she does. Welcome and good morning, Ellen. Thanks for joining us.
Morning,
Thank you
Alan.
so much. It's good to see you guys here this morning. Dennis, I love the background. Um, I have a wellness company that focuses on helping people live their ideal life with great health and happiness, fulfillment, connected relationships, and success. It is okay to have it all. And I help people do that through a variety of different ways. I do different types of testing. I do genetic testing and gut testing and food sensitivity testing to help people really figure out their blueprint for thriving. And then we also do personality and value assessments to help people take care of their mind and their relationships. And then we teach people to really how to tap into their spiritual selves as well through developing soul skills like mindfulness and journaling and grounding. So we work with individuals, we help companies work with their employees. And I also am co-founder and COO of Healing Meals Community Project, which is a local nonprofit making meals for families in a health crisis. And right now we feel really fortunate to be providing immune broth to frontline workers at the local area hospitals.
That's awesome. Great. Which is actually, that's how we originally got to meet you, Ellen, was through Healing Meals. And thanks for all the awesome work that you and Sarah do. That's just phenomenal. You talk about living your ideal life. And I would suggest that where we are right now, well, me personally, I've been kicked out of the house because everyone in my house, I got 2 college students and a wife who's a teacher, and they all have things going on inside the house. So I got bumped outside. But this is probably not the ideal life that we all envisioned for ourselves. So how, in your experience recently, how are people handling this, and what's the right way?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think everyone handles anxiety and stress and fear differently. There really is no right or wrong way to do this. Um, I have a program called Ideal Life Method. And what's interesting is people say just what you're saying. It's like, this is hard to imagine living our ideal life right now. And I say, choose your ideal life in these challenging times. We have much more control than we think we do because so much is uncertain. It's hard for us to feel uncomfortable. So folks process fear differently. Some folks retreat. They go into a really, really cave-like mentality where they don't really want to talk. They just want to self-protect or distract themselves. Other people are really emotional. They're really, really having a hard time processing grief and sadness. And other folks are finding that middle and just saying like, okay, there is so much I can't control, but there is so much that I can. And that's really what I feel is, I see people traveling that path and it looks and feels very healthy. And so I don't give advice, but when I'm working with folks to really help them uncover what's ideal for them in any situation, whether dealing with a terminal illness or a transition in a relationship or a career, it's let's find the ideal for you. So in these times, that's the invitation to all of us is, okay, what is ideal today? I know that I can't control so much, but what can I and how will I? And then actively choose that throughout the day, not just in the morning when we're getting going, but throughout the day, how do we realign to that? So there's some real simple strategies that I can share to help people tap into those. But to your point, Dennis, there is no right or wrong way. People are definitely feeling anxious and they're feeling fearful. And what I advise people to do is get really, really clear on what's ideal for them and then walk that path.
So Ellen, I'm fascinated to know so many businesses are struggling now, and others are not. There's some that are uniquely positioned to actually thrive in an environment like this. What's life like for you? Is business up? Is business down? Or are people, putting their heads in the sand and what's business look like?
No, business is really, how do I say this? It's lovely, and it's not lovely because people are challenged. It's lovely because I see people being brave and courageous every day. So for
Yeah.
me, I'm still coaching virtually. I've always done that. I've clients all over the country. I work for local companies. I work at Healing Meals, so I'm at the farm quite a bit, which is just fantastic to be in that environment. So for me, it's business as usual, but it's even more profound because people are really finding a deep well of empowerment within themselves that they didn't know they had.
Yeah.
They're much more courageous than they thought they were. They're stronger than they thought they were. And they're surrendering much more than all of us are used to surrendering. You know, I work with a lot of high performers, and it's about getting it done and doing it really high quality and really pushing ourselves to accomplish and bring people with us. And so it's a challenge in the everyday world that we got used to surrender and really be in that place of acceptance. And, you know, getting comfortable with being uncomfortable is a wonderful skill that people are finally having to settle into, because it's just everywhere. You know, it's health, it's the everyday routines are just so off in the financial market. As you know, you don't need me to tell you, it's people are really finding new reservoirs of acceptance.
It's hard, I got to imagine, for especially super high performers, type A personalities, to have lost so much control in so many aspects of their lives. Is that a fair statement?
It's an absolute fair statement. And so for the first couple of weeks, it was really rocky. And our tendency is just to, you know, to hold on for dear life. Like, no way, I'm not going down without a fight. And then it was, okay, well, what can I do? You know, because that's not working. And so what do I do now is I have to get into a new routine. And I think a huge disservice to people is not being in a routine. You know, we had that like, oh, there's such expansiveness now, and I can wear my pajamas to meetings, and I can eat whatever I want. And hey, I did that too. I had Ben and Jerry's for dinner last week, and it's okay. But then there's this return to, okay, I do better with routine. I do better when I'm eating foods that give me more energy and don't disrupt my sleep and don't cause me to be anxious, and to get into that, you know, to Dennis, how you started this, like, get into those things that we can control. And so I recommend that if people don't have a morning routine, this is the perfect time to do it. Spend at least 15 minutes. Mine's about a 45-minute practice, really getting grounded. You can go stand outside on the ground barefoot. That's actually a very physical grounding experience that you can have. You can journal. You can do a mindfulness exercise by just a real simple one is to do some deep breathing. Close your eyes, do some deep breathing, and just feel the energy in your body. And you start to realize, it's like, whoa, I have so much energy. I have so much power. Start thinking about how you want to feel and just daydream about that. And you can also do that in a journal by just writing from the vantage point of, how do I want to feel, as if I already have it, and just really, really, really be present. Control is all about mitigating risk and managing fear. So we spend a lot of time in the past trying to rework things that we can't change, or we propel ourselves into the future and we kind of borrow that trouble because our minds get hooked on solving things. We're like, let me just see what I can do to control the future, again, to mitigate risk and to manage fear. The best thing you can do is come into the present moment by doing that grounding exercise or having a morning routine or journaling, and just let it be okay. And from that, so much power comes, clarity comes, the central nervous system calms down, and we can really get into a much more empowered place.
Yeah, I was gonna. You just started talking about some of the physical manifestations of anxiety, and also the benefit of mindfulness. So, mindfulness has gained a whole lot of popularity in the past few years. I think it's somewhat of a buzzword. Um, what is it, and what does it actually do for people? I don't know. It seems like a lot of people think it has to be this huge deal, this mindfulness practice. But you just mentioned a couple of things that were pretty simple. What are the physiological impacts of having some sort of a mindfulness practice?
Absolutely. So there are tens of thousands of studies on the physical and mental well-being benefits of mindfulness. And mindfulness is simply what I just was explaining, which is coming into the present moment, like leaving anything that you can't change from the past, because we can't. If we could, we would have changed a whole host of other things, but it's impossible. So leave that there Get yourself, let yourself off the hook in a sense. Like, it happened, it was supposed to happen, let it be, and not be worried about the future. Come only here. Because when you do, when you're mindful and you're in this place where everything is okay, we're safe, the central nervous system, the autonomic nervous system, can calm down. So when we have a fear of a threat from the past or the future, we have a very physiological response in the body. And if we knew every day what that was, we would find many more moments to be peaceful, because acid literally fills and floods your body. I won't get into all the science because we don't have time, but basically cortisol, adrenaline are produced, and it causes a chemical domino effect in the body. And so when that happens is we get stupid, which sounds odd. It's an awful word, but it affects our ability to think reasonably. It affects our ability to make good, sound, conscious decisions. It affects our ability to communicate with each other. And it can really, really colossally drain our energy. So by having a very simple mindfulness process, I like the way you think, Dennis, it doesn't have to be huge. It could be something really simple. We come only into this moment where everything is okay for us. Luckily, we can speak with privilege right now because we're healthy. We can be okay. But even if we have someone that's sick, or we know something that's going wrong, like the economy, give yourself the blessing of this moment where you're good, you're breathing, which means everything is okay. And so you can do some really simple things, like literally just telling yourself, I'm okay, it's okay. In this moment, I'm enough, everything is enough. It will all be okay. I gave a 9-year-old client a little superpower by going like this. He lives down in Newtown, and when everything was going on down there years ago, he was afraid when they built the school again that the bad guys would find them. So I said, okay, you are okay. So when you are like this, you can put it in your pocket if you don't want to show anyone, you will be okay. If we could only just remember that as adults, life would be so simple.
Yeah, it's pretty simple.
So
I was thinking, yeah, as you're talking about the cortisol and the stress and all that sort of stuff, anecdotally, I've seen and heard of people who who maybe had a little bit of early dementia, had some memory issues that seem to have gotten worse over the past few weeks because of the anxiety and the stress of isolation. Is that, is that
yes.
real?
So physically and emotionally. So physically, their brain is being flooded with chemicals that they're not used to. So there's this disconnection, and things don't flow as easily in terms of thought. And also emotionally, we're so overwhelmed, or we can be so overwhelmed by emotion. Our nervous system kicks in, and we get this disassociative situation going on where we just can't connect. There's many different stages of the nervous system. But at the lowest rung, we literally can't communicate socially. And we take that for granted because we can communicate all day, every day through words and through hugs and whatever else. But when we are in the depths of a nervous system response because of fear or perceived fear, even, you can't communicate.
Mm.
So Ellen, you've thank you. So you've shared some techniques. I think I'm gonna, right after this, I'm gonna go outside, take off my shoes, and
Perfect.
put my feet in the mud and ground myself. You mentioned a little bit. I think you made a joke about eating ice cream for dinner, which is certainly better than eating ice cream for breakfast, I suppose. But where does diet fit in here? I know mine has not been so great over the last couple of weeks, if I'm being honest.
Yeah. Yeah, I outed myself. I have a newsletter that I've been sending out called Calm in the Chaos. And this week's segment was on food. And I outed myself. And like, just like everyone else, I was off with my eating until yesterday. And in a way it was liberating, like, I'm going to have what I want when I want. I'm not going to really put that pressure on myself right now. But then I was reminded that I eat that way in a healthy way, best I can. I call it the 80-20 rule. 80% of the time I'm eating the best I can, is because I just feel better. So when I started to have more chocolate than usual, more wine, more sugary treats, I started to get a stomach ache, and my energy levels started to dip, and I found myself getting more anxious. And I'm like, hold on, these treats are not actually treats. They're causing disruption in my sleep and how I feel every day. And I just wasn't willing to do that. And so there should be no food shaming. If people are still in this place where it brings them comfort to have some things that are a little unusual, or maybe a little bit more of something than they would normally have, let it be okay. And when you're ready to get back on track, understand good things come. Like if people are drinking too much coffee, it's most likely going to make you anxious. So that doesn't typically help if you're trying to make business decisions or relate to one another in your home or from a social distance standpoint. Too much sugar does the same thing. It can make you really, really anxious. It can disrupt your sleep. It can cause you to gain weight, and then you might feel badly about that too, because people like to feel energized and feel like they look their best. And so much comes into play with regard to food. So number one, don't shame yourself and don't shame other people. When you're ready to get back on track, invite yourself to do it by, I call it proximity. Have the healthiest things you can have right now around you. So cut up some vegetables and leave them on the counter. You know, we're told to purchase all of these packaged foods, but they typically have artificial flavors, colors, dyes, too much sugar, bad oils. So there's a time and a place for those for sure. But right now we still have access to produce, and we have some delicious things that we're starting to have access to even locally. So cut them up and have them close by. So you're grabbing for those things. So maybe you're grabbing for popcorn in one hand and you're maybe grabbing carrots and hummus in the other.
I like the 80-20. That's awesome. Um, so I think we'll probably cut it there, Ellen, just because we wanted to allow everyone to get back to work and get back to some of the self-care that we've been talking about. But, you know, to me, and I know to our clients who have seen you speak in the past, this is super helpful. And although it might seem a little bit out there, and when we're talking about you know, numbers and financial planning and investments, this stuff is actually really, really helpful. And I think as we were talking about before we started recording, there's so much that we can't control, and you're giving us kind of the opportunity to control what we can control. And a lot of that is your diet, being mindful, and at the end of the day, what you're talking about, all these things really can help us all be better decision makers, make decisions in a better state of mind. So I want to thank you very much. I know that our clients appreciate, our employees for sure appreciate everything you're doing. Kevin, any last words you want to share?
No, just Alan, thank you. And I guess, you know, I would like to know whether Dennis actually has shoes on and whether or not he has his feet in the dirt,
I
but
do.
that's,
No,
we can
no,
talk
shoes
about
are off.
that off
And
air, so to speak.
this is coffee. It's not Guinness, but it is way too much coffee. I got to cut this back after this one.
Just consider.
Ellen, seriously, thank you. That was wonderful and great to see your smiling face.
Yeah, absolutely happy to help.
Thanks, Ellen. Take care.
Yeah, stay well.